Beer Canada launched a campaign opposing a planned 6.3% beer tax hike, which is set for April the 1st, and they brought in some classic Canadian characters to help make the argument.
Ottawa plans to raise the tax on beer another 6% on April the 1st. What do Canadians think?
April the 1st? How about April the worst? Good day, I'm Bob McKenzie. This is my brother Doug.
How's it going, eh?
Okay, so we did a scientific taste test, and beer does not go down as smoothly with another tax hike.
That's SCTV's Bob and Doug McKenzie, if you don't know, played by Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas. They're known for their affinity for Canadian beer, and they're fronting the campaign you've likely heard on radio at some point. Now, the campaign is urging Canadians, Canucks and hosers alike, to contact their MPs and make their voices heard. Let's talk about this issue more in depth now. We're joined in studio by Peter Bullitt. He's the president and owner of Great Lakes Brewery. So, Peter, thanks for being here this morning to talk about this. A 6.3% tax hike. I mean, these happen every year, but this seems more steep than usual and perhaps more painful.
Much more painful. This is a bad year. The tax going up to this magnitude, alongside with all of our input costs. Malt has gone up 60, 70%. Natural gas has doubled. Inflation, groceries, gasoline, like this is just another hit. And, you know, they call it a escalator tax, which makes it sound sort of nice, but it's not nice. It's not an escalator. It's more like a slam.
And this, you know, they're lining it up with inflation, it seems, right here. But, I mean, is this going to hurt? How does this impact customers? I think that's the bottom line question here. What are you going to have to do when it comes to pricing your beer? Yeah,
we're going to have to seriously look at it. Great Lakes, you know, we employ 65 people at the brewery and about 25 down at our brew pub. And, you know, it's tough right now. We don't want to bring the prices up, but we may be forced to just in this economic situation.
And this is something, and it doesn't matter how big or small you are, right? Like you're competing against sort of the Molsons, Anheuser-Busch, InBevs, et cetera, of the world. It doesn't matter who you are. Everyone's getting the same tax. Is that right?
That's correct. I refer to these guys as our comrades, big or small. But this is the brewing industry, and we're trying to, like, every glass raised brings everybody up. And the tax is for sure right across the board. For Great Lakes, you know, this year our tax is around $580,000. Next year now it's going up about 40 grand. We're going to be $620,000 just in the federal excise tax.
Right.
And a brewer of the exact same size in the U.S. would pay about $175,000 in tax. So you can see the gap here, and what Great Lakes and the Coalition and the Canadian Brewing Association, we're trying to get the government to cool their jets and start to model a little bit of the American tax structure, as they did in 2006. And that saved Great Lakes. So there's precedent. There is. 2006, you know, they did a tiered tax system, which helped all the small brewers and medium. And now we got to help the medium and the larger ones.
Do you feel like this time around that the government is listening, the federal government is listening, and do you think this campaign is actually helping?
The door is open and they're listening. You know, just whether strong, smart minds prevail is to be seen. I think, you know, if they do make a move, it's going to do nothing but help the industry flourish, and in some cases just stay alive and survive.
It's interesting because the beer industry's kind of been through some ebbs and flows recently. During the pandemic, I know like deliveries were kind of through the roof, and that was kind of an interesting time. But now we're in this recovery period. You know, the benefits are sort of going away. How would you describe the situation for Great Lakes Brewery in particular that you're in right now as compared to, say, 5 years ago?
Yeah, I guess the taxation and the escalator that they talk about is also prevalent in the provincial tax system. Mm-hmm. And so we have been having such a strong increase in the tax, as well as I mentioned before, all the input costs.
Yeah.
And labor too. So, you know, post-pandemic, anybody that has a small business knows, you know, the wage rates have gone up probably 20, 30%, maybe more.
Yeah, a lot of taxes, a lot of inputs. Okay, listen, it's interesting to talk about this campaign with you. Peter, thanks for joining us here on CP24 Breakfast this morning.
Thank you for having me. All right.